Good day everyone! I am Abigail Efrenon, a BS Social Work Level 3 student. And today, we will be discussing about RIZAL's annotation of Antonio de Morga'S de las Islas Filipinas. So first, what is our objectives for discussing this annotation of RIZAL's to Morga'S de las Islas Filipinas? First, is to analyze RIZAL's idea on how to rewrite Philippine history. Second, to compare and contrast RIZAL and Morga'S different views about Filipinos and Philippine culture. As we all know, RIZAL wrote No Limitang Here and El Filibusterismo. But RIZAL didn't only accomplish 2 books but 3 books, which is the third one is the Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, or the history in the islands of the Philippines or in the Philippines. So before we will proceed to our main discussion, we will discuss first what is, or we will define first what is annotation. So annotation is a short explanation or note added to a text or image, or the act of adding short explanations. Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas was originally written by Antonio de Morga. And sino nga ba si Antonio de Morga? Antonio de Morga is a Spanish lawyer and a government official during the 17th century. He is also a historical anthropologist, author of Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, kaya nga nang sinabi ko kanina na siya ang original na nagsulat nito. He also wrote the first lay formal history of the Philippines conquest by Spain, and he is a doctorate in canon and civil law. So, ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin kapag sinabi natin Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas? Las Islas Filipinas means the Philippine Island in English and was named in honor of King Philip II of Spain. Sucesos means the work of an honest observer, a versatile bureaucrat who knew the workings of the administration from the inside. The annotation of RIZAL is consisted of 8 chapters, which is first, of the first discoveries of Eastern Islands, second, of the government of Dr. Francisco de Sande, third, the government of Don Gonzalo Ronquillo de Peilosa, fourth, of the government of Dr. Santiago de Vera, 5th, of the government of Gomez Perez das Marias, 6th, of the government of Don Francisco Tello, 7th, of the government of Don Pedro de Acua, 8th, an account of the Philippines Islands. Prior to the annotations of Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, RIZAL patiently read the historical accounts about the Philippines, such as books written by Antonio Pigafetta, Father Quirino, and other Spanish connectors and historians. The book De las Islas Filipinas narrates the history of wars, intrigues, diplomacy, and evangelizations of the Philippines in somewhat historical. So let's proceed with our discussion. And at this point, we will be discussing what, why, and how RIZAL chose Morga'S work. So, as we all know, RIZAL was an earnest seeker of truth, and this marked him as historian. He had a burning desire to know exactly the condition of the Philippines when the Spaniards came ashore to the islands. Next, his theory was the country was economically self-sufficient and prosperous, entertained the idea that it had a lively and vigorous community. He believed the conquest of the Spaniards contributed in a part to the decline of the Philippines' rich traditions and culture. Also, he then decided to undertake the annotation of Antonio de Morga'S Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. His personal friendship with Ferdinand Blumentritt provided the inspiration for doing a new editions of Morga'S Sucesos, devoting 4 months research and writing and almost year to get his manuscript published in Paris in January 1890. Now, let's proceed with the discussion on why RIZAL chose Morga'S work. It says here that RIZAL felt Morga to be more objective that the religious writers whose accounts included many miracle stories. First, Morga, compared to religious chroniclers, was more sympathetic to the Indios, and finally, Morga was not only an eyewitness but a major actor in the events he narrates. Rizal's second consideration for the choice of Morga was that it was the only civil, as opposed to the religious or ecclesiastical history of the Philippines written during the colonial period. So, yun yung rason or mga rason kung bakit pinili ni Rizal yung gawa or yung work ni Morga. Now, let's proceed to how did Rizal know about Morga's work. It says here that Rizal found the book while he was in London at the British Museum's reading room. He hand-copied the whole 351 pages of the book and annotated every chapter of it. O diba? It was the first historical work on the Philippines by a Filipino. It is the first history written from the point of view of the colonized, not the colonized. At this point, let us now discuss the views of Morga and Rizal. Let's compare and contrast them. First, we have the indigenous people. It says here that Morga believes that those natives living in the Luzon are the tribes whom one cannot be safe with because to pacify them, it is either through good or violent means. And Rizal said that they will always choose violence until the government enters because of their inhumane ways as answers to those who do not submit to the friar. Next is the body tattoo, wherein Morga and Rizal agreed that the inhabitant natives, also known as Bisaya friar patterns, first before putting black powder where the blood is. Let's proceed to the clothing. Morga said that in the middle of their waist, they wore bahak and their foreheads wrapped with a potong. But Rizal correct Morga's term, wherein he said that bahag is a rich colored cloth and quiet, often with gold strips, and they put more style like a shirt. Next is the food. Morga said that they eat beef and fish, which they know is best when it has started to rot and stink. But Rizal said this fish that Morga mentions that cannot be good until it begins to meat is bagoong, and those who have eaten it and tasted it know that it neither is nor should be. Next is the government. Morga believed that there were no kings and queens or lords in different barrios or provinces to rule. Instead, they considered principals among natives, wherein Rizal agreed. Morga also said that individuals or families belonging to the principals formed relationships and friendships with each other, and sometimes, due to differences, caused wars. Rizal pointed out that friendly relations were more common. Now let's proceed to drinking, wherein Morga said that natives drink heavily. They all end up drunk during wedding feasts. But in Rizal's annotation, he quoted Father Colin, who said it is common knowledge that they drink a lot, but no matter how inebriated they seem to be after gathering or feast, that can always find their way home. Now let's proceed to the marriage, family, and household, wherein Morga said that groom contributes a dowry which he inherits or receives from his parents. The bride does not bring anything until she inherits from her parents. But according to Rizal, ang babae daw ay dapat tinutulungan ang kanyang asawa, hindi lamang nakikita na parang pabigat siya. Also, Morga said that the house where the parents and children lives is called bahan din. Inasawa is a wife married to a native man. But according to Rizal, in Tagalog, a house is called pamamahay. It is impossible that bahan din is printed for bahay. And asawa is the term called for the wife of native. Next is the religion or healers. Morga said that there were no priests or men of religion to attend to religious matters. They believed in idols and superstitions which the devil inspired them whether to do, tell whether sick persons would live or die. But according to Rizal, there were priests called Catalona or Babaylan. Next is the belief on crocodiles. Morga said that the natives revere and venerate the crocodile because they are afraid of its power. But according to Rizal, there were instances when crocodiles, while sparing their Indios, served as global threat. Next is the customs for the dead, wherein Morga said that they buried their dead in their own houses, keeping their bodies and bone for a long time in boxes and venerating their skulls. But according to Rizal, they find it much more natural and pious to venerate the remains of our loved ones than those fanatical martyrs whom we have no dealings and who probably will never remember us. Last, we have the economy, wherein Morga said that cotton is raised through the island, which they sell and trade as threads. Rizal said that they also have cotton and not just rice. Morga also said that the native of the island sell the artifacts of the Japanese, wherein Rizal agreed that it is very interesting history shaped and valued with a price of 100 offered for one of them. Morga also said that natives are always mining for gold, but when the Spaniards came, the mining becomes lesser and they just treasured what gold jewelry they have, passing it through generations. Rizal said that the Indios, seeing that wealth aroused the capacity of the encomienderos and soldiers, abandoned the work in the mines, and the priest historians relate that in order to save them from taxations. The main propositions in Rizal's new edition of Morga'S Sucesos are the following. First, that Filipino had their own culture and civilization before the coming of the Spaniards. Second, Filipinos are disseminated, demoralized, exploited, and ruined by the Spanish colonization. Third, the present state of the Philippines was not necessarily superior to its past. So that's the end of my discussion regarding Rizal's annotation of Antonio de Morga'S de las Islas Filipinas. Thank you for listening and I hope you learned